All right, we are back and developing tonight. There are reports of talks at the highest levels between Russia and Iraq this evening as battles rage across Iraq as the government-backed forces fight the al-Qaeda offshoot known as ISIS as they try to establish an Islamic nation state that stretches from Syria through the better part of Iraq. ISIS controls 3 major cities in Iraq now and a lot of territory in Syria as well. They've also got roughly a dozen of the smaller towns as they march toward Baghdad, which is going to be a major friction point, of course. And Iraq is fighting for control of the largest oil refinery. That is also at the heart of all of this. The State Department confirming that the terror group has entered a chemical weapons plant that was once controlled by Saddam Hussein. Mustard gas, sarin gas, and nerve agents could still be inside. We're going to talk about that situation. And amid this turmoil, President Obama announcing that he will send up to 300 U.S. military advisors to Iraq, but also urging American combat groups will not be on the ground in Iraq fighting again. Retired General Tom McInerney and Iraq and Afghanistan combat veteran Pete Hegseth, both very qualified to talk about this with us tonight, and both Fox News contributors. Gentlemen, welcome. Good to have you here tonight.
Thanks. Thanks, Martha.
General, let me start with you. These reports that Vladimir Putin picked up the phone and talked to Nouri al-Maliki and offered him his support. This, while the United States is sort of, still trying to figure out what our strategy is by all reports. What do you think?
Well, he's just rubbing it right in President Obama's eyes. He did it when he seized Crimea. He's doing the same thing now in the eastern Ukraine. And all of a sudden he appears in Iraq and working with also the Iranians. And so it is blatantly trying to be the bully and humiliate President Obama. And he's doing a pretty good job of it, by the way.
All right. What about these chemical weapons, Pete? Are they of a concern?
Well, a lot of them are dated. There's chemicals separated. They've been there for quite some time, over a decade, and the ability to put them into weapons grade is not something these insurgents at this point are capable of doing. But when you've got chemical weapons, when you've got an oil refinery, when you've got the Haditha Dam and electric capability into Baghdad under siege, now you've got real capabilities that these Islamists have to put pressure on the Maliki regime. The question is, will these 300, will these special operators brought in as combat advisors be given the latitude to actually fight back against ISIS? We've been told they won't be pulling triggers, but will they be able to be out in the field calling for airstrikes, coordinating assets? That's a big thing. That's a big difference between being on base and training. It looks like they'll be on base. We'll see what the president allows them to do if he really wants to affect change against these Islamists marching toward Baghdad.
General, has the president articulated to your satisfaction what the goal is here? What would be considered fixing this situation, do you think?
Well, he certainly hadn't articulated what the goals are. I don't think 300 men can do anything. I strongly oppose this. All they are is going to be potential targets and either be killed in action or wounded in action or even captured, or for that matter, it could be a green on blue attack on them. And so I see no value to put them over there. For those people that think that can turn the tide was turned, Martha, when we left in December 2011. We handed it over to Iran, whether we like it or not, and immediately Maliki cleaned all the Sunnis out as much as he could, and so the train has left the station. 300 special operation forces, no matter who they advise, are not going to change that, and that won't change until you get a leader in there that can reconcile the Sunnis, Shias, and the Kurds.
Boy, I hear a lot of that. Heard a lot of that today. Pete Hegseth, are you in the camp that says, we've done enough. We've lost enough treasure on the ground in Iraq. Let's stay out.
No, I'm not, because I think we've got interest there. And while the general's right that we lost this when we didn't sign the Status of Forces Agreement, when we gave up on the fight, at least 300 is a willingness, a recognition, finally, from this president that he cares about something other than just ending the war. We have strategic interest in preventing a safe haven for Islamists in Iraq. Do I think we should send battalions and battalions of people back in there? Not necessarily, but in Afghanistan, right after 9/11, we showed that a core group of special operators can do a heck of a lot if they're given the latitude to activate. The problem is this president will not do that because he doesn't want the complications that come with it. So he won't empower these guys. He'll put them in impossible situations. They're outnumbered. It's an underwhelming number. There's no doubt about that. But at least he been dragged into recognizing that the outcome in Iraq matters. And so if this is a foot toward more effort, we can't just give away the middle between Syria and Iraq to Islamists who seek to strike us here at home. That is what's at issue. This president isn't addressing it well, and he'd better. And at least he's recognizing it's time to do something.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Good to see you both tonight.
Thanks,
Margaret.